Hello everyone, welcome today. We appreciate you coming by. We're going to paint something a little different than what we normally do, and we try to keep changing and changing. But the reason we change is because some people like different things. This particular one, if you come over to the board, we've made a sketch here. My wife Ruthie collects cooking stuff, particularly chefs of different style and things. So we sketched this with pencil. Then I went over it with a black marker so you could see it real good on TV. But anyhow, we're going to paint this for Ruthie today. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. Now, you can put any colors you want to on most of these, but Ruthie is sort of likes red in her kitchen. So what we're going to do, we'll go right here and pick up a little. Now, the color I'm picking up is red, but it's a alizarin crimson. So what we'll do, we're going to make this a really bright one. Now, I'm going to try not to go over too much of this area here. And the reason being, this is all going to be white, so we don't want to cover too much of that up. But we'll just start putting a little color in here. I love that alizarin crimson. Isn't that a pretty color? Now let's go, I'm going to get a little red and intermix with that. Now we could make it really, really dark around the edge. What I'm doing now is just basically filling it in. And I don't want it totally blended in the background, if you know what I mean. I want just a little bit of, I guess you call it a detail back there instead of being totally blended in. Now I'm just trying to get it filled in a little bit here. What we'll do to get it closer, I'll show you just in a second here. And we may come back and make it a little darker on the edge. I'm not really sure about that yet. But right now, we just want to get it filled in. And I'm just, this is a little 1-inch brush, and I'm just taking it and sort of scrubbing it. Now I'm going to pick that up a little bit so as not to get too much of it on my board here. Just to get the bottom of it. Then we'll start back up. Now that's a lot of red, I know, but if you could see Ruthie's kitchen, you'd understand that she's changing over. She used to collect all kinds of chickens for the kitchen, but she's changing that out. So if you know anybody that wants a whole bunch of chickens, she's probably got a bunch. Okay, now I like that pretty good. But I'm going to come in closer to paint around the shelf. But I want it a little bit lighter in there, and I'm going to use a little smaller brush so I can get a little more detail. I'm going to rinse this one out just a little bit. and we'll drop it right over there. Now I'm going to go in here and pick up let's get a little flat here. Well, probably should be smaller than that. Probably this size right here. One thing I learned a long time ago is try to use a little bit bigger brush than what you need. Now see, I can go right around the edge with a smaller brush and fill it in exactly the way I want it. And I want it a little lighter in towards the figure. And we'll go down here and get the bottom first. Now, by the way, what I done with this canvas before I started, I don't tell you this every week, but just in case you've joined us for the first time, what I usually do with my canvases, especially one that I want to blend something, if you notice my color, how it really flows good. What I done, I took a thin coat of burnt linseed oil and just rubbed it all over the canvas. Now what that does, that gives your color or it makes your color really flow on good, and you can blend it really good with that. Now there's so much white on this, but when we start painting, I'll show you, it won't be exactly white. Now you can put shadow under here, put him with a shadow on if you wanted to. I'm not sure what we'll do there, but I want to keep it a little lighter, sort of like I've got it here, right around the figure. And if you notice, I'm just pulling real close to the line. Now, if I go over the line, it don't really matter all of that much because the other color will take care of it. And all the white will be shadowed in. And you can use a lot of different colors for your shadow. And we'll show you that as we go along. We're just trying to get the bottom of it here so we can move back up. And I'm pulling it pretty close here. You don't have to pull it quite that close because all of this actually will have color on it everywhere. But I just sort of like to cut it in close when you can. Now I don't know what all was on this tray up here. Looks like a whole bunch of good stuff to eat. But we'll go into that as we get to it. Now you see how easy it is to pull a line real close there with the smaller brush. With the bigger brush, it'd be a little harder. Now, I've got it blended a little bit more than what I like it here, so I probably will go back and spot it a little bit like I'm doing. You can do it either way. It's you know, it's your painting. Do it any way you want to. Now my grandson paints also. He likes, I don't know if you, impressionistic sort of painting. He's like Van Gogh. And he does some fantastic stuff. We might have to see if we can con him into coming down one day and painting for you. All right. I don't want it to be a solid line like this right here. I want it to be blended a little bit, see, like, more like that. Now the good thing about the linseed oil, it'll stay wet for a long time, so you can come back later on. I'm going to drop it down so I can get these other areas in here. And I'm going to pull right around that little sleeve. Now the background for a painting is one of the most important things, because you need to have it to accent whatever your painting is. This particular case, I'm hoping that all this red will look good. If it doesn't, what we can do is come back and put a few different colors in it. Now if you notice, it does take a little time. So you have to be sort of careful. And to the way I'm turning the brush, you see I've just turned it and got a little point right in there. So if you learn to do that, it makes life a lot easier. Now this little chef is just one that we made up in our head. It wasn't something that we copied or something. But if you have something you want to copy, that's just as well, because it's all good art. Whatever you do is good art. Okay, now that looks pretty good in there, I think. And I sort of like those little bit variations in color. And I may go back and put darker on the edge. Now we've got to go right in his, between his arm here. And if you notice, I'm sort of taking my time, and if you pull over a little bit, it don't really matter, because all of that is going to be recolored. Now we could have saved a lot of time and painted the background before we got started, but I really wanted you to see the total painting from start to finish. And I think you saw us sketch stuff. You know that I tell you almost every week or every time I think about it that I'm from the old school. I learned to draw before I could paint. But that's not to say that you have to draw to paint, because actually you can just start painting and use your brush. And now this is, I think I believe it's 18 by 24. In this series, I really want to show you a couple of other things during this series. I'll tell you about it. I think I may have mentioned it before, but we've got a little church building that we're going to do a painting on. And we've already done the sketch for it. I'm trying to get the wall ready right now to start actually putting the primer coat on it. And it's going to be an outside painting, and it's going to be about I think 18 feet long by 7 feet tall. I don't want to get in your way, so I want you to see everything we're doing here. See, I'm just taking in. This little brush, by the way, is sort of round. And that helps me get around these little curvy areas. And then to get a point, like I did there, you just turn it a little bit. Okay, now I'm gonna go right around his little cheek here. I'm gonna get a little more paint in there because I don't want to run out. Now I've got a little area right here that I need to go down just like that, see, with the end of my brush. And right up into his little ear. And it don't matter that you go over some of this. I'm just trying to be real careful. So that saves you a little time if you're pretty careful with it. Now we could have sprayed the whole background before we done the sketch, which would have been a lot easier. Just take a spray can of red and sprayed it. Then you could come in and just put a few little highlights or a little darker colors in there. But I wanted you to see how you do it if you do the whole canvas. And was not trying to do it in that big a hurry, so. And I wanted you to see how you use a little small brush to go around some. If you notice now we're pretty close. I'm going to turn it one more time here. And get this little top of his hat. And I'm just pulling it. I'm laying the brush down pretty hard there. Now, again, I say it's okay if you go over into your drawing. It doesn't matter because most all of that will be covered up anyhow. I sort of like that so far. I'm going to turn it one more time so I can get this right here. And if you notice, we got it a little bit darker at the top. Okay, now same thing here. See, I've got a little point that I've got to get up in there. Watch this. I'm going to lay the brush down and push it, see? You see how that worked? Same thing right there above his little ear. I've got a little point. That I got to get in there, and I'm just going to push the brush down like that. And we got it, see? I'm going to leave a little bit of unevenness in there. I tell you what I would like to do. Watch this. Now I could do that with a little bit bigger brush. I just want a few little darker areas in there. I'm going to blend that a little bit better than that. And I want a little bit of that over here. Just a little bit. Oh, by the way, this is Van Dyke Brown that I'm picking up over here. Now I think that'll be in keeping with Ruthie's kitchen. Now I want just a touch so it won't be a solid background, just a touch of this. Now that's about the way I like it, but I'm going to take my brush just a little bit and blend it just a touch. Okay, I'm going to clean that brush out. Now we've spent the whole show just about doing the background, but that's a very important part of the painting. Okay, now see, I'm just blending it just enough to kill the hardness. And I'm trying to stay off of that, but like I say, it don't matter if you touch it a little bit. Now the reason I can blend that is because we coated it. Okay, now I think that's about the way I want the background. Now I'm not sure about down here. I may leave that just the way it is. Sometimes it's better to do that instead of trying to put shadows and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna clean that brush out. Now I want to show you, actually, a lot of this is going to be, again, like I say, white, right? So I'm going to wipe that just a little right there. Good enough. Now, we can do the chef's uniform, but let's do the face first, okay? We've got plenty of time to do that. Now, what you need for that, this is a cartoon type person, but we want to make it look sort of realistic. So I'm mixing up a little flesh color. What I'm doing is using yellow, white, and red. We've got a little too much yellow, I believe. Let's get a little more red here. That might be about right. We want a rosy cheeked chef, I think. I believe I want a little more red yet. A little more. Okay, now, that will be really rosy cheeked. I probably should add just a touch of white. I don't need a lot of this color. That's about what I want. Now, in order to do the face, we're going to get a little flat. Wipe that off good. Let's see, I want one, I like them with, I'll show you. This is a little flat one, and I like it with pretty long bristles on it. Let's see what that looks like. Now, in order to do the face, sometimes you need to hose yourself up off of it. So basically what I'm doing now is just totally coating him in. And usually and I'm putting a little part in his hair there. Maybe we'll run that up there too. Now while we got that color, we're going to run down here and get his hand. Okay. Now that's a start. Now we got to make a shadow. In order to do that, we've only got a couple of minutes here, so we'll start out with a little bit of red. Little more than that. Oops. Okay, I guess we're gonna have to work on him some next week. Anyhow, that's just the start of some shadows. And I'm blending that a little bit. I want a little darker lip on there. And we'll make his cheeks a little rosier than that. Okay, I guess we're going to have to do it next week. Anyhow, okay, we've got a couple of minutes, Jim said, so let's keep going. Now I'm just trying to get rosy cheeks in there right now. What we'll do a little bit later is we'll come in and put some shadows in there and some good highlights. Okay. Usually the ear is a little darker. So we're going to make it a little darker. All right. Okay, I guess Jim's going to fuss at us here. We appreciate Jim so much filming our show every week, and we enjoy it. Enjoy his company and enjoy painting for you folks. And come back and be with us next week, and we'll do a little more work on our little chef. Hope you've enjoyed this show, and if you did, well, write us a letter or call Jim or James and tell them about it. Goodbye now, and we'll see you next week. God bless.